Why, that's my country. Indeed, I will be glad to go. And he added under his breath, and at last I will be able to look for my mother, and I will. If she is still alive, I will find her. To Nigeria and the Yoruba country went the exploring party, then up the mighty Niger River, day after day, week after week, month after month. They charted the course of the river and its tributaries, and they marked the positions of the towns and villages. Samuel proved invaluable with his mastery of several languages and his ability as a geographer. And everywhere that Samuel went, he looked and looked and looked for his mother, but he could find no trace of her. He could find no one who knew anything about her. But he would not give up. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth and said, I will, some day I'll find her. When the tour of exploration was over, it was decided that Samuel should go to England and attend the seminary and prepare for the ministry. So to England he went. The Royal Geographic Society welcomed the returning explorers, and with them they honored Samuel Crowther for his courage, his outstanding help, and his ability. Before a huge crowd of people, speeches were made, and Samuel was presented with a gold watch and chain. As he took it in his hand, the crowd burst into applause. It was one of the greatest moments in his life. His heart was too full for words, but he found himself wishing, oh, that my mother could be here to hear this applause and see this beautiful gold watch. Then she would be proud of her little boy, wouldn't she? And again he clenched his fists and gritted his teeth and said, I will some day. I'll find her and show her this beautiful watch. After a year in the seminary, he was ordained to the ministry and he returned to Africa. Soon after this, the missionaries decided to open a new mission among the Yoruba people, and you've guessed it, Samuel Crowther was put in charge. In 1844 to Nigeria he went, and in due time he opened his mission in one of the largest Yoruba towns, Abeokuta. He was a good missionary, and soon little groups of Yoruba people were becoming Christians and were being baptized. And everywhere that Samuel went, he kept looking, looking, looking for his mother. But often these thoughts troubled him. How could he recognize her? He was only a boy, 12 years old, when he was taken from her. That was 25 years ago. His mother wouldn't know him. She had never called him Samuel, and she would be old and wrinkled too. How could he possibly recognize her if he didn't find her? Well, one morning, returning from a visit to a group of new Christians, as he neared his home, he saw a little old lady standing in the path. Her hair was white, her back was bent, but as he passed, she touched him on the arm and said, "Good man of God, won't you please ask me the questions about baptism? I want to become a Christian too." "Of course I will," said Samuel. "Let us sit down for a while." And he asked her how long she had known the Lord Jesus, and if she could pray, and if. But what was it? When she spoke, there was something about her voice that made him think about when he was a little boy. And those eyes, somewhere he had seen them before. Suddenly he found his heart beating faster, and eagerly he asked, "Tell me, my good woman, tell me, did you ever have a little boy taken from you and sold to the slave traders?" A look of pain came into her face as she replied, "Oh, man of God, don't ask me to tell you about that. He was so young, and I, too, was a slave. But I've looked and I've looked everywhere I could. But I'm getting old. My hair is white and my eyes are getting dim. And sometimes, I think I will never." But she didn't finish what she was going to say, for suddenly Samuel Crowther had sprung to his feet and thrown his arms around her. For she was his mother. He had found her at last. "And you are my little Ajay?" she asked affectionately, but there was no need to reply. They clung to each other while tears of joy streamed down their cheeks. Then, when at last words were possible, the joyful news that his two sisters and his younger brother were safe and sound and living not far away made his cup of joy flow right over. There was much in the life of Samuel Crowther after this to give him joy and happiness. A few years later, in 1864, he was ordained as a bishop, the very first African bishop. But without any question, the happiest day in all of his life was the day when he took his dear little old mother down into the river and baptized her into the name of the Father, the Son, and the. Then, in harmony with the African Christians' lovely custom, after her baptism, they stood together for a moment at the bank of the river, and he gave her a new name. And what do you think he called her? He called her Hannah. For wasn't Hannah the mother of Samuel?